one new archetype, and probably the one that a lot of people had the least faith in, almost being called a meme at this point, and made it all the way up there, and paired against what I want to say is a decent matchup, right? Lost Box, there's all those low HP attackers, so I really think we could see Iron Valiant make it one step further if they're able to do their thing. Then another thing I want to talk about a little bit is Lost Zone Giratina V-Star. That's a deck that has continually been written down, underestimated, and it hasn't won anything either, right? It has been hyped, it has been very popular in the online tournament scene. However, in real life, at live tournaments, it has not had that big breakout win. Even when it was deemed the best deck in the format, I don't think it had a big breakout win. So is it time? Will Counter Catcher finally allow Lost Zone Giratina V-Star to make it through?
We'll have to see the results. But our table is now ready for top 8. Let's go ahead and take it down to the stage here and get our bracket started. LAIC 2024.
Our players, Keito versus Gabriel. Very, very interesting matchup that we have here. Let's talk about their lists. Pretty standard Giratina V-Star deck. We have split off the switching cards. We have the Counter Catcher. We do have a Lost Vacuum, which could come into play to help accelerate that Lost Zone a little bit. However, I feel like the Lost Zone is not gonna play too much of a role in this matchup.
Here we see our players and their accomplishments. Gabriel, this is his first major top at a major event. And you see there, top 8 LAC could be more. We'll have to wait and find out. Meanwhile, Keito, World's Top 16 Junior Division in 2011, Top 16 Junior Division 2009, and then EUIC Top 16 just 2 years ago. And again, Snorlax stall up against Lost Zone Giratina V-Star. One thing I do want to mention is Lost Zone Giratina does play a lot less switch outs than Lost Box decks normally play. Having 4 outs here for Gabriel.
Indeed, it is a deck that tends to play the least amount of switching outs, and some of them, which are Jet Energy, are also stopped by the Temple of Sinnoh from working that Keito does have in his deck. So all of that will definitely factor in this match 100%. Now, if Gabriel is able to limit their bench to where they have very few, if any, Pokemon that cannot attack, right? It's essentially named Comfey. I feel like you can run away with this game.
3 energy, 2 switch card in the prizes for Gabriel here. That's not what you want to see. Meanwhile, Temple of Sinnoh, that Pidgeot V, and a couple of items and supporters for Keito. Keito's not going to be touching those prize cards. You can grab the Pidgeot V with something like a Suian Heavy Ball, but that's basically it.
That is true. There is a copy of Peonia, so there is a way to access the other prizes sometimes. Now, interesting, Keito has completed our bingo card, Jeremy. We've seen decks with 4, 3, 2, and now 1 Battle VIP pass this weekend. I don't think I've seen that before in any of the other tournaments that I've casted. So that Battle VIP pass being prized could lead to a slower turn if Keito is holding the Arven in their hand and they are going first. But we're about to get this match started.
We have Keito Arai up against Gabriel Veloso. And Gabriel is starting things off. Giratina V in the active spot, energy, and a path to the peak to start things off. Just a pass of the turn, nothing else, but a lot of the times against a deck like this, you don't really need much else.
Yeah, exactly. No need to bench anything else. No need for cards in the Lost Zone. You get 3 energies on the Giratina V. Use your Shred attack that does not mind Mimikyu's ability, and you're good to go. Yeah, Shred does not, this damage is not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So Mimikyu's safeguard is completely useless.
That is something to keep an eye on for this game for sure. And now there is only the 1 Mimikyu for Snorlax. Other than that, the engine of this deck is going to be that Rotom V.
Indeed, Rotom V super key for the Snorlax deck to find those resources, get them into your hand, and be able to disrupt their opponent's Pokemon. However, with that Path to the Peak in play, I both really like that it was played down on turn 1. I also not a fan of it because if you know that your opponent is playing copies of Temple of Sinnoh, you want those Jet Energies for the eventual Erika's invitations that will get played and that will probably force you to bench a Comfy at some point. But we're going to see the Snorlax, we're going to see that Forest Seal Stone on the Rotom possibly grabbing a Stadium so that in turn you can get 3 extra cards this turn.
I do like that play a lot, and Arven enabling this by grabbing that Nest Ball and Forest Seal Stone. And I believe that was, what, a Bravery Charm on the Snorlax as well. So adding 50 more HP, gonna make that Snorlax pretty beefy to try to take down.
Pretty beefy, able to withstand the damage from Shred. However, not really minding that. Gabriel, I don't think minds taking 2 shots instead of 1 shots on the Pokemon. Would prefer 1 shots, but as long as you're able to continually attack without using up any resources, you're good to go. As we see Rotom V's ability finish off the turn for Keito.
Well, there is another Path to the Peak to replace that Temple of Sinnoh. So those 3 cards hopefully have been good for Keito, because now Gabriel's just going to be Abyss seeking, try to build up that Lost Zone and get a bunch of cards in that hand.
Now, I will say I'm really not a big fan of immediately playing that Path to the Peak. I think Gabriel needs to factor in the existence of Temple of Sinnoh. Even if you've never played against Snorlax before, now you've seen 1 copy, and the Path to the Peak was played for no immediate effect. And as long as you're able to attack, as long as you're able to get those shreds going, doesn't matter whether your opponent has 12 or 20 cards in their hand, you need to be able to jet energy out of any Erika's Invitation Pokemon. So I understand stopping Rotom V is important, but you are also having a slower setup, so I feel like in the end the game will definitely last much longer, and you'll need those jet energies as ways to get out of your comfies, which are sure to be invited by Erika to the active spot.
Gabriel deciding on this Colossus Experiment, got rid of the Roxanne. That's not going to be a card that's going to be useful in this match. And Super Rod, that's going to be one that could be very beneficial in getting those energies back or just filling the deck up. Remember, Keito's whole strategy is to deck Gabriel out.
Yeah, so it might seem counterintuitive for Gabriel to be seeing more cards, but now he has all the energies that he could possibly want in his hand. He's ready to start using Shred next turn against that Mimikyu. Safeguard as useful as Wings on a Grumpig, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see how Keito can adapt to this, because there's no Crushing Hammers either. I've seen some lists try to play Crushing Hammers to try to delay these energy attachments and try to buy more time that way. Maybe even run your opponent out of energy after they've retreated a few times, but with no energy denial, we really need Erika to show up to the party very soon.
Yeah, one of those supporters from, what, 151?
151,
yeah.
That is correct.
Your opponent reveals their hand, puts a basic Pokemon you find there onto the bench, and then you switch that Pokemon to the active spot. A lot of the times against a deck like this, you see players play around discarding those Pokemon that you don't want in the active because just of Echoing Horn. But now Erika's adds that whole new dynamic, and here we see Iono in hand, a Pokegear. Pokegear could try to dig for something like an Erika's, but no, we're going to have an Iono.
Indeed, Iono down to 5, but Gabriel got the best start possible, that lone Giratina V. There's no way for Gabriel to even discard any Pokemon, so Echoing Horn should never be useful for Keito. It's all down to the Erikas, and it's all down to finding those Erikas at the right time. But you cannot use Erika and penny up your Snorlaxes to protect them from getting KO'd. Eventually, something will have to budge, and I'm pretty sure Gabriel knows that. He's playing this perfectly well, and I fully expect Gabriel to be able to run away with this game if he doesn't make any mistakes.
We see here even just getting rid of those basic Pokemon with Colossus Experiment and Abyss Seeking to try and mitigate the damage Erika's Invitation would do. And we do see Keito draw that supporter off of Iono. and had the Temple of Sinnoh to bump the path to the peak and allowed Rotom to draw more cards. Remember, Keito's whole game plan is to just build up a massive hand here, and opts to think about playing the Erikas, is going to play it, but uh-oh. No basic Pokemon, and look at that
Look
smile.
at that smile. Yeah, very confident Gabriel knows he just dodged a big hindrance there. Yeah, the Iono actually put those Comfeys at the bottom of their deck, and Keito decides to call it a day. 1-up for Gabriel. This is a one match where you're hoping not to start Comfey. Everything else, you see a Comfey in your hand, you're like, yes, I get to see more cards, I get to play. This time around, Comfey is actually almost playing for Keito.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think about your entire strategy that you've used throughout the entirety of the Swiss rounds is null and void. It is Lone Giratina V and Shred Away. Does not like the paper, you know. He wants to shred it.
Now, I will say, I've watched a lot of tournaments that happen and take place in Japan. They play best of one over there, and I'm always really amazed at how they never concede. Yeah. I feel like it's probably part of their culture, like some sort of honorable thing to like let your opponent win or make sure that you fight until the very end. And so I was very surprised here by the concession, which is very smart, right? It's definitely a pretty much unwinnable game. Keito has to rely on either Gabriel starting an awkward Pokemon such as Greninja, such as Manaphy, such as a Comfey, and being able to continually bring that up to the active, as we saw that unfortunate Erika's invitation not hitting anything, and both players having a laugh about it.
You know, spirits are high. This is the top 8, and looking at those prize cards, Erika's invitation to Bravery Charm, Sydney, Snorlax, and the Nest Ball. Meanwhile, Path to the Peak and a Colorless Experiment, couple energy for Gabriel.
Now we did see Keito once again give a thumbs up to Gabriel because Gabriel did start the Lone Giratina once again. So Gabriel, all he needs to do, attach 3 energies, no energy denial. Gabriel was even preparing for a possibility of Crushing Hammer by attaching extra energy to Giratina V, but Keito really needs to hit that Erika's invitation, and one of them is prized. The other is available, but we'll have to see how early he can find it and if he can find a Comfey in Gabriel's hand.
Well, starting things off not so good. Iono here going to find 6 new cards, but it's looking like just a bunch of trainers is going to have to pass the turn. Maybe next turn is where we're going to see some fireworks. We do see the Erika's invitation in hand, though.
We do see the Erika's, and there is a Comfey, so this is where things are going to get interesting. We're definitely going to see a much different game than the previous one. No way to get rid of that Comfey by Gabriel. Now, I will say, though, Gabriel is threatening game next turn with a single energy, so you have to really debate. Do you risk the Erika's or do you play it safe with the Arven and play the Erika's the turn after? However, that Nestball top deck
was very good.
Fantastic for Keito. Now the Erika's is looking more and more inviting as the turn develops.
I see you, Pablo. I see you. I'm rubbing
I'm trying.
off on you.
I'm trying.
Nestball here is going to search for what looks like that Rotom V. I believe there's a Forest Seal Stone in hand, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So that means you will be able to Forest Seal Stone and grab whatever you need. But we're going to see the Arven here, so a little bit more setup. Bravery Charm will help Snorlax stay around for another turn.
He chooses the more safer route, chooses to Arven, find that Bravery Charm. It is the only copy left in the deck. There are 3 Bravery Charms, 2 of them are prized, but there is a Luxurious Cape available as well. Not sure how impactful that's going to be here. It does allow Mimikyus to survive 1 Shred attack, so maybe we could see it there, but Keito has other priorities right now, and I guess by allowing this turn to pass, assuming Gabriel ends up playing a Colress or ends up doing another a Be Seeking, or is even able to have an extra card through the top deck, he might be able to hit, so increase the chances that Erika's invitation will hit.
Hisuian Heavy Ball found off the Arvin is going to allow Keito to look at the prize cards here, grab a Snorlax, and see, yeah, those two Bravery Charm and Erica's sitting there. Even the Sydney is pretty good in this match, able to discard Jet Energy and Path to the Peak.
Yeah, Sydney very impactful. Erica's very important. Bravery Charm's very important. So Keito did prize a lot of useful pieces, but mostly the Bravery Charms. Yeah, without those, Snorlax can only take 0 hits from Giratina. With them, it's able to survive a turn. Then you get to Penny and eventually find ways to disrupt. But right now, Gabriel playing that Colress, accumulating cards in their hand. Definitely going to see the Comfey and the Battle VIP Pass in the Lost Zone, but there is a Comfey in the hand and Greninja as well. So Erica, it's all going to come down to this Erica, and then how often will that Comfey be stuck in the active spot?
Also, how often do you see a 4 Seal Stone in Lost Zone Giratina?
Oh my gosh, I had not seen that in Gabriel's hand, and I really like it. I really like that inclusion.
Being able to forego your Star Requiem, instead use Star Alchemy, search your deck for one of any card. This will allow Gabriel to find the grass energy needed, I believe, to start shredding and start getting these knockouts rolling.
Yeah, how often do we see Shred be so clutch and so important? Sometimes you use it once or twice in a matchup, but being the main attack for it is definitely not a common thing.
And there is that grass energy, and it's so crazy. Might as well, right? You have these Pokemon V, you're able to just make yourself a regular Lost Box deck.
Yeah, now combining the Shred attack with Path to the Peak, so full on control, but I cannot fathom a world where Comfey is not, Erica is not the card being played here.
We do have the Bravery Charm to go along with it as well. 4 Seal Stone of Keito's own.
4 Seal Stone, indeed. So what could he find here? Maybe another stadium. Gabriel has not been hesitant to play Path to the Peak as soon as he can. I'm pretty sure Keito just asked how many cards Gabriel has in his hand, trying to figure out the perfect timing for the Ericas, especially now that he has 100% confirmation that the other Ericas is not available. Timing this right. You can see him hesitating, even trying to play that Misfortune Sisters instead. Yeah, holding off onto the Ericas until Gabriel has accumulated as many cards as possible to try and make sure that there's a Comfey and no item cards hit.
Misfortune Sisters, look at the top 5 of your opponent's deck, discard any number of items you find there. But when your opponent has all Pokemon energies and supporters up top, it's not going to do much of anything.
Yeah, only you get to look at the future, if you will, or what would have been the future, but now that future has changed. The timeline has changed.
For Seal Stone, using that Star Alchemy now, we'll be able to search, and like you said, Temple of Sinnoh eyes to be the choice here for Keito.
Temple of Sinnoh will allow Rotom V to draw some extra cards for Keito. However, Giratina will continue to shred. Nothing stopping it. Yeah, instant charge, very good, but not good enough at this point.
Bravery Charm on the Snorlax will allow it to stick around for a little bit here. Looking through the list, there is one Lost Vacuum for Gabriel. If he's able to find that, that could be very big here. So Colress for 5. Does not find it, but has a switch card. So that is a way to get that Comfey out of the active spot if it is benched with that Erica's Invitation.
Indeed, switch cards and escape ropes, the most important cards for Gabriel to keep here, along with Jet Energies, but those are limited when there is a Temple of Sinnoh being played, and that's why I emphasize, yeah, you don't mind Keito accumulating 30 cards in her hand. It's all about making sure that whenever that Comfey hits the board, you are able to switch.
And there is that shred, so it's just back on to Keito's turn. Does he finally use that Erica's Invitation?
I mean, we have the information that there is a Comfey in Gabriel's hand, but the information that Keito has is that there's a Comfey, a Giratina, and a Sableye in the Lost Zone. We finally see the Ericas, though.
I feel like he was saving it saving the Pokemon for a while.
Indeed. Chooses Greninja instead of Comfey. Greninja is a potential attacking threat. However, there is a water energy attached, 2 water energies attached to a Giratina, so Moonlight Shuriken probably not happening too often. However, there are 5 switching cards in Gabriel's hand already. 3 of them do not work because of the Temple of Sinnoh, but Switch Card and Escape Rope guarantee 2 more attacks. And this is very important for Keito to know, because he will have to continually bring up this Greninja over and over and over as we see the first Switch card get played.
And this is rough because it now allows Gabriel to take the second knockout on Snorlax, so 2 of them down. And Keito's going to have to try to find them again, and then, like you said, bring up that Radiant Greninja. Iono found off the Pokegear.
2 of them down, and also no more Bravery Charm available until Keito plays a Peonia. So very difficult spot. Shred does not threaten knockout on the Rotom V, but Keito needs to bench something else. Otherwise, Gabriel can play a Giratina V-Star and take over the game. And I'm not seeing another Pokemon in Keito's hand.
Might be forced to play this Iono, put Gabriel down to 4 cards. Counter Catcher is going to be very beneficial. Get that Radiant Greninja to the active spot.
Yeah, but now that Keito will not be playing a Penny, that Radiant Greninja with a single energy attachment could end up easily retreating. So Keito not only needs to find a Snorlax, but also needs to find a Switch card, which he only plays 2 of.
Another Pokegear 3.0 from Keito here.
Keito might be digging for an Arven instead to guarantee the Pokemon is able to only find Boss, though, which is very redundant with the counter catcher play he just did. It is a little bit of deck thinning, right? But you can see from Keito's expression, it's a difficult situation to be in. And also, he knows there isn't a Giratina V-Star in Gabriel's hand right now. So by playing the Iono, if he doesn't find another Pokemon, he's putting Gabriel closer to that Giratina V-Star that could potentially end the game right here.
Big 6 cards from this Iono for Keito, 5 for Gabriel, or 4. My apologies.
1, 2, counter catcher. There's a
Mimikyu.
Mimikyu, and there's a Nest Ball. So game will go on, but this Greninja is not blocked in the active spot.
Super Rod will allow Keito to shuffle back these Snorlax that were just knocked out, and then go ahead and play a Nest Ball to search for one of them. Put him right on the bench.
Now, Gabriel's hand not looking good, though. We have a Boss's Orders, a Manaphy, a Battle VIP Pass, and a Super Rod. None of those cards help get Greninja out of the active spot. So even though it isn't technically trapped by Snorlax's block ability, it's still trapped by Gabriel's horrible draw from the Iono.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, Iono put back to the bottom a ton of energies, 3 jet energies. The Escape Rope only has access to 1 switch card left in the deck, 1 switch. And honestly, not that many energies. There's 4 on Giratina, 1 in the Lost Zone.
And quite a few at the bottom of the deck as well. Now, in order to fit that Lost Vacuum, in order to fit that Forest Seal Stone, only 4 ways to switch, one of which is already gone. So switch card and Escape Rope copies available for Gabriel to switch out. Jet Energy also available eventually, but needs to have a Pathway Peak in play for that to work. However, he does top the Colress Experiment, finds a switch card, finds a Giratina V-Star, which could be tempted to attack, to evolve and attack. However, choosing to Lost Zone it as well. Interesting decision here. I really don't see a reason to keep the Mirage Gate. I would Lost Zone the Giratina, the basic and the Mirage Gate.
Yeah, you lose the ability to shred if you evolve that Giratina V-Star, but you will be able to take a knockout here. Now, with Mimikyu, does it prevent effects as well? Right?
It does.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Okay,
it doesn't. No, it's only damage.
Oh,
so
but he's already used the V-Star.
He's already used a V-Star, so if he evolves, which would be a mistake, right? I feel like I would keep the option to end the game with a boss KO on Rotom V-Star eventually. Not very likely to happen right now. There are 8 cards in Lost Zone, so Mirage Gate is activated as a way to retreat the Radiant Greninja and not spend a Mirage, the switch card that he just found. So very smart choice there.
Eyeing through the deck, there's still plenty of energies left. I think 4 basic energies and then at least 3 jet energy.
That extra energy on the Giratina V, I'm not sure I'm a fan of. I would have loved to just see that on the Radiant Greninja. That way, you're already ready to retreat, and if you can boss his orders, that's another way you can switch out. You just get the Snorlax onto the bench, and you're able to manually retreat. So, interesting decision. Still doesn't have full information. Could be still trying to play around a Crushing Hammer, perhaps. But, oof, this is getting close, Jeremy. But Keito's chances of winning this game, I feel like, are getting lower and lower with that Colress Experiment top deck for Gabriel.
100%. Here is the Shred. 160 damage to that Rotom V. Not enough to take the knockout, but putting a ton of pressure on Keito to find something. Top deck's Misfortune Sisters. That's not going to really help here. You got Peonia. Can go and find something like those Bravery Charm in the prize cards, but needs... Is that a counter catcher in hand as well?
It is. Counter catcher Penny is the ideal combination here for Keito. However, Gabriel very smartly holding on to that switch card, all ready to be able to continue to apply pressure. Maybe I don't see a Penny in Keito's hand. The Arven will get him a switch card, so he can still do this play, except the damage isn't clear from the Rotom V, so that could pave a way for Gabriel to get an easier knockout on that Rotom without having to evolve and get rid of the Shred effect.
Arven is eyeing down that switch cart along with a tool. I guess the one tool still available is that Luxurious Cape from Keito's side of things. And just to give you some updates on the other top 8 matches as well, does look like Juho took down Matthew Burris. 2-0, Miraidon taking down Gardevoir. Iron Hands EX. Putting in a bunch of work. Noah Sawyer is up 1 game up against Brennan Cameraman. Iron Valiant trying to take down that Lost Zone. And Jeremy Gibson up 1 game over Kieran with that Gardevoir mirror match.
Yeah, we might actually end up seeing a bunch of Paradox Rift Pokemon at the very top along with the counter catcher cards. But we have maybe one of the older archetypes when Giratina V-Star present in the room. Definitely putting in a name for itself and saying, hey, don't forget about me. Yeah, I'm still around, and I just got better because of Counter Catcher. Not relevant here, but I'm sure Counter Catcher came in very useful in Gabriel's run all the way up to top 8.
Well, Counter Catcher is relevant for Keito. Brings up that Radiant Greninja yet again. And we see that Luxurious Cape definitely gonna be a little awkward, but it does give an extra 100 HP to Snorlax. And we have Keito entering the turn by drawing 3 with that Rotom V.
Keito really needs to penny up that Snorlax, though. Otherwise, if Gabriel is able to take down that Snorlax now worth 2 prizes instead of 1, he will be 1 boss away from eliminating that Rotom and winning the set now. Big thing here, Gabriel debating playing the boss now, taking down the Rotom V. No more draw, 2 extra prizes for Gabriel, and now Keito has a difficult decision. If you promote the Mimikyu, that's going to go down easily. If you promote the Snorlax, Gabriel could evolve and knock it out for 2 prizes thanks to that tool card. So, not looking good for our Japanese player.
Keito promotes the Mimikyu here, it seems like. Not going to be doing much against Shred, but it won't lose you the game to that Giratina V-Star, like you were saying. Pokegear 3.0 looking at the top 7. There's the Penny. Finds an Iono. This is going to be some pretty good disruption, especially with Gabriel at 2 prize cards now.
Yeah, that Penny, I mean, that Iono, I think Keito is going to have to rely on doing Counter Catcher plus Iono and Gabriel not being able to find an energy to retreat, which Jet Energy not working as intended. However, we do see the switch card. Iono, but no Counter Catcher. All right, so planning on withstanding a hit and then something else, but Gabriel finds a Giratina V-Star and it's gonna be over.
Well, we did find a counter catcher off this Iona for 6, so Radiant Greninja back to the active spot, and Keito passes the turn. No more draw power with that Rotom. Gabriel draws a Jet Energy, but that will not help in this instance thanks to that Temple of Sinnoh shutting off those special energy abilities.
Does play the Nest Ball to probably shuffle up the deck. I can't imagine Gabriel would ever bench anything else willingly. He's played this flawlessly so far. That Greninja only hitting play because it was forced through Erika's invitation and needs a path to a peak to get closer to winning. Needs path to a peak plus Giratina V-Star in order to win. All he needs to do is be patient. Yeah, take it chill. Yeah, wait for a switching card. Wait for a Giratina V-Star. Fails the search as intended. Maybe thin. Yeah, maybe consider thinning. I think at this point I'm feeling like maybe you attach an extra grass energy to the Giratina V in case of Crushing Hammer. But I would have done it like the other way around, right? 2 Psychic, 2 Grass is better protected than the way it's currently done. 1 Crushing Hammer onto the grass could be great, but they keep talking about Crushing Hammer, but there are 0 Crushing Hammer in this list. Yeah, these are all hypotheticals. I'm trying to think of ways of what Gabriel is trying to think of and protect himself from, but realistically, not going to happen here.
Concealed cards does discard the Jet Energy, and Gabriel finds Giratina V-Star and a Sableye. Those are not really going to help in this instance as of right now. Giratina V-Star, sure, but still needing a switch out.
Keito taking a look at the resources he has already used, probably trying to figure out Palpad, and we see Misfortune Sisters. This could be a big one if it hits a lot of switching cards.
Looking at the top 5, discard all items. Nest Ball, super odd it seems like.
Nothing relevant, unfortunately, for Keito. I think he's going to have to keep trying with that Misfortune Sisters and hope that Gabriel just doesn't find the combination of Jet Energy plus Path to the Peak. 1 Jet Energy did get concealed cards away, but there are 3 others waiting in the deck.
Palpad here is shuffling back one of those Misfortune Sisters. It looks like Keito decides Iono is going to be the second card for that item. Both of those supporters get shuffled back into the deck, and Keito's hoping to draw into something yet again. Maybe having another Iono in hand.
Really
That'd be the best.
Yeah, I'm really not a big fan of putting that Iono back into the deck. Your only realistic choice or win condition is finding Misfortune Sisters and hitting those switching cards. You don't know how many Gabriel plays. You've only seen 1 so far, so not a big fan of that.
Concealed cards, and there is Escape Rope, but that's not going to win the game this turn.
Nope. A boss away. Yeah, the Escape Rope. I feel like I would still potentially play it. Take the KO. Maybe I would have been patient and wait for the boss's orders, because Escape Rope plus boss would have been game.
Yeah. Ooh, but there's a Path to the Peak found off the prizes. I think that's the last one, too.
Yeah, big Path to the Peak. Hopefully Gabriel doesn't play it immediately, though. It's what he's done each and every time. And now all he needs to do is find a Jet. All you need is find a Jet. If you play that path down and it gets countered, then your Jets no longer work. So I don't understand why we keep playing that Path to a Peak immediately.
I guess it's the fear of Sydney, maybe discarding it from your hand. These Snorlax decks play a lot of different tech supporters to really help your different matchups, and Sydney is one of those that is rarely seen in the format, but in this deck it works wonders.
Certainly Sydney is a threat. Just rather like you force your opponent to have the Sydney, right? If they don't have it, then you have a win condition in your hand. So Iono down to 1. It's going to be a waiting game. There's switch cards. There's I think 1 switch card left. One switch left as well in Gabriel's deck. No more Giratina V-Star in his hand, so cannot take a knockout on the Snorlax with the Luxurious Escape attached.
Keito does find another Snorlax, but that's going to be very risky to bench just because a simple Escape Rope means the victory for Gabriel.
Now,
Or
Keito
I guess the only one escape rope's been
yeah,
played.
Keito doesn't know that though.
That is true.
Yeah, that like the trend is for Giratina's decks to play at least 2, sometimes more. So Keito definitely does not know that. And if there is another escape rope, then Gabriel would not win by doing 160.
Another Temple of Sinnoh found for Keito here. That's going to be able to bump the Path to the Peak and shut off Jet Energy as an out for Gabriel here. And I believe that is the last Path to the Peak. I'm not quite sure. Let's look for the discard.
2. Oh, there might be one.
There might be one left.
Might be one left. If there is, yeah, then we have Path and Jet as ways to win. Otherwise, it's Switch or Switch card plus Giratina V-Star.
And another update for y'all at home. Noah Sawyer, Iron Valiant, EX, Entei V, taking down Brendan Cameraman 2-0. Must be a pretty good matchup against the deck with a bunch of low HP Pokemon in play.
Yeah, I would say as expected, right? Low HP Pokemon, you thrive in that, and Roaring Moon can only carry you so much. Now, Lost Vacuum was drawn by Gabriel, so that opens up the Jet Energy once again as a way to switch. Yeah, but if I were Gabriel, I would generally wait until I have the Giratina V-Star and the Stadium counter. No need to do 160 damage to the Snorlax. All you're asking is for it to be pennied up and then for your Greninja to be trapped yet again.
Misfortune Sisters found off the Pokegear 3.0. Taking a look at the top 5 here. Nest Ball, Mirage Gate, there was a Jet Energy too. So.
Yep. I think it was the next card too.
Yeah. And a couple Giratina V-Star to go along with it. So Keito opting not to discard the Nest Ball. That is just another card that Gabriel can draw and not do anything with. But Mirage Gate could be something.
No, it seems like these were the good Fortune Sisters for Keito as he took away that Jet Energy top deck. Counter Catcher top deck, as useful as a Battle VIP pass in this matchup. But we're just waiting for that Jet Energy or waiting for that switch, even waiting for a Colress to dig deeper into attack or even an Energy so that Greninja can conceal cards further deeper into the deck.
Peonia here being played for Keito does find another Bravery Charm, but I believe that just goes right back to the prizes. This is going to be the lone Snorlax against the world here. Draw for the turn, Super Odd, that's not going to do it. Xylene.
It's a luxurious Snorlax too with that cape. Yeah, it's a very fancy Snorlax.
Oh yeah, I mean, could you imagine? Xylene, flip 2 coins for each heads, put a card from your discard on top of your deck. Is that 2 tails? 2 Snake Eyes!
Double tails, no extra resources for Keito. Draw pass for Gabriel. We are waiting for that Jet Energy switch or switch card. Pass. Something was drawn that's useful.
V-Star.
V-Star, so just waiting for the switch or the switch card as we see another Misfortune Sisters.
Discards Counter Catcher, that's pretty much it. That was 5 turns of Gabriel not doing anything, now getting shuffled back away. Thanks to that Misfortune Sisters.
Keito not hitting a single switching card out of how many Misfortune Sisters now? 4? Maybe 5?
He hit Mirage Gate, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so no switch cards, no switch, no escape rope. Very few left in the deck, admittedly, right? Which might have Keito a little bit puzzled, like, well, what do you actually have left over? Yeah, how many energies, how many outs do you actually have in order to attack me? Because you haven't given up yet, therefore you must have something, right? Otherwise, I'm going to deck you out first. I can never deck out with the Pidgeot V, so what are you planning? Keito does know there's Jet Energy, as we see another Misfortune Sisters.
Looking at the top 5 yet again. Counter Catcher.
The same Counter Catcher, and the next card was Jet Energy once again. Gabriel having a blast here, knowing that he's really dodging this. I mean, he's just waiting, right? All he needs to do is wait. There's a switch. There's the Giratina V. There's the evolution.
And with that, Gabriel Veloso makes it into top 4 now with Lost Zone Giratina. That was something we kind of expected. It is a very hard matchup for Keito there. And congratulations to him as well, making top 8 with a deck that a lot of people were not expecting. But it is an unfortunate way to go as well. At least they're in high spirits.
Yeah, they certainly are. I feel like Keito definitely knew he was in for a rough situation, and Locke smiling at Gabriel. Yeah. Erika not as inviting as you would like it to be. Giratina V in the active spot. Nothing else needed to be played. Path to the Peaks coming a little bit earlier than I would have liked, but Gabriel was able to take this down, and I feel like the whole story has been about Gardevoir finally winning a tournament. What about Giratina finally winning a tournament?
Yeah, we have only really seen it as Arceus Giratina, and Veloso Giratina has been the quote-unquote best deck in the format in Japan for a while, and has always been very scary for the players across the world, but it could be its time to shine here. It has some pretty good matchups left.
I put my faith in Giratina V-Star at Worlds, and it disappointed me, but I feel like I'm about to watch its redemption.
And again, throughout these entire 2 games, Shred was the name of the game for Gabriel here. And then the boss's orders, being able to take those 2 prizes off the Ronan V, stopping the draw power as well from Keito's side of things. And just all of these Misfortune Sisters being very fortunate for Gabriel here, not discarding any of those relevant items. And really just giving the switch to Gabriel at the end. Escape rope here, able to take a knockout, put Gabriel down to 1 prize card, but it was only a matter of time. That deck still had a ton of cards in it, a ton of draws that weren't really going to do much, but with that Lost Vacuum in hand, it was kind of inevitable.
Indeed, and the writing was on the wall, I feel, and it was a matter of waiting. Keito definitely did everything he could in order to win this match, but the few switching outside, Gabriel had those jet energies which were not available throughout the whole match. Perhaps those Path to the Peaks were not played as timely as possible, but in the end, he had the right cards at the right time. He executed the strategy perfectly. No need to bench anything else. Comfy is your enemy at that point. Don't select any flowers. Yeah, no need to get fancy. All right, just go with Giratina. Seek in the abyss for that win.
Do you even need me anymore, Pablo?
I've been learning. I've been paying attention.
Yeah, it's really just the difference of starting with that Giratina V in this matchup. You're able to Abyss Seeking, fill out your hand, and just hope it's enough. And most of the time, it is 160 every turn. Turn after turn is just too much pressure for a deck like Snorlax Sol to really overcome.
Indeed, and I think this is the perfect example of how Snorlax can be very good or just really not be able to get you there, because you go up against a player that is ready for the matchup, that doesn't get nervous at the fact that they're not doing anything during a turn, right? I see this a lot where players are very eager to play the cards that they can.